Well, hi, everybody, and welcome again to the SAP Press Book Club. And today we're going to be doing Introducing Rise with SAP. So this is going to be an exciting chat because it's the topic of the day. So here is our e-bite that we're going to go over. And actually, it's an e-bite. So you can buy it and print it like I did. I love to print it because you know me, I like a book. So, but it is an e-bite. So it's a quick way of finding out a lot of information. And we are here today with our author. And this is Anurag Barua. I think I said that right.
Barua.
Barua.
Yeah.
Messing that up.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is that we know each other. That's the hilarious part. So we were talking about this e-bite before it was published. And so we've met way in the past. We've been trying to figure out where. And then the second time we've met this year at a conference. It was not a conference, it was a client meeting kind of thing. And we met again, and then he was telling me about his e-bite. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then we finally figured out, I was doing the book club and I was like, do you want to be in it? So anyway, I would love to introduce you to Anurag, and I will let him tell everybody who he is.
Sure. Thanks, Kendall.
Mhm.
Firstly, I want to thank SAP Press for giving me this opportunity to write an e-bite on this really important topic. Secondly, of course, I want to thank Kendall for her passion in being the driving force behind SAP Press Club. And last but not the least, wishing everyone a happy Halloween in advance.
I know. Happy
Yeah.
Halloween, everybody. I wanted to dress up, but then I thought I'd
Yeah.
be pretty scary.
Yeah.
So I just
So I hope the next 50 minutes or so are a treat for you, and the pun is entirely intended. So let me introduce myself in slightly more detail. I'm a transformation leader, and I've spent the last 26 years of my career in the SAP ecosystem in a variety of roles. And that includes SAP product development, delivery, when I say delivery, advisory consulting, pre-sales, sales, just name it. There is probably a role that I haven't played. And I have spent a combined 12 years as an SAP employee. And the remainder I have spent in your shoes, meaning that I've either led large-scale SAP implementations and run SAP centers of excellence as a customer myself, or led consulting practices for various SIs. Regardless of role or title or company, my North Star has always been about leading my company or client's success through a pragmatic, intelligent utilization of their SAP investments. So in my career, I have served over 200 clients, probably even more. I'm lost count right now. Sounds about right. Globally and across multiple industry verticals. And my areas of expertise, I cover a lot of different areas, including financials, logistics, supply chain, reporting and analytics, data management, data governance, obviously cloud technologies.
So you've done it all.
User experience.
I was going to say, yes, you've done everything, which is great because everybody here is totally different backgrounds, industries, versions of SAP. So we are looking at this as a wherever you are, what is Rise? I mean, that's kind of the biggest question here. Like, and someone like you that's been around the block, you've seen it all. You've been there with everybody, seen the older versions. And I think that it's a conversation where we don't want to make it, all of my ECC buddies, it's very different when you start talking different lingo kind of thing. So Rise is the new lingo for everybody. So that's kind of where we want to make sure that everybody understands, what is this? So I know that let's start in with some of the fun things about your eBite. And well, first of all, I want to ask the best question ever. Ready?
Sure.
What is Rise with SAP?
And before I answer that, actually, I realized my intro was already too long, but I forgot to, I didn't forget, but I did want to add one final aspect, and I'll definitely answer this question and be doing a disservice to myself as well as everyone who's taking the time today if I do not talk about my thought leadership and for the past couple of decades. So I've written numerous articles, blogs, white papers, on SAP topics, and this is my 6th book. And I've spoken at nearly 200 SAP conference and events globally. And also just my final thing about myself, and I'll stop talking about myself after this, is I have a BS in computer science and an MBA in finance, and I have lived for a long time in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. So having said that, I'm done with my entire intro, and I can now answer your question about Rise.
No, do you know that I'm actually from Richmond, Virginia originally?
I think you may have told me.
I know. I bet that is where we met sometime in the beginning phase.
Yeah.
So strange. Sure. But now I'm in North Carolina.
Correct. All right. So
let's try it again. Ready?
Exactly. So I remember your question. So firstly, I want to emphasize that Rise is neither a product nor an application, but it's a collection of applications, services, and capabilities that will enable your organization to start and or accelerate your move to the cloud and cloud ERP in a very rapid, effort optimized, cost minimized manner with the continuous engagement and guidance of SAP.
But what is it really? It is
what
is it? It's what?
All right. So going a little deeper, it's basically a comprehensive business transformation package that SAP brought to the market in Q1 of 2021. The subscription package includes a set of cloud applications, but this is underpinned by S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition. So that's the core. And there's a whole set of services that helps companies optimize their business processes, run with significant automation, intelligence, agility, and at scale. And that's from the business standpoint. If you take a look at Rise from a technical standpoint, it is built on a very modular architecture. And because of that, you have a lot of flexibility and the ability to integrate all kinds of applications, including third-party applications. And this helps companies minimize their technical debt and keep their core clean.
So we have to remember as well is that, let's see, I think it was July 15th of this year, Rise changed. And so what they were offering before then was a different group or like, I guess you say like a offering kind of thing. And then they changed it July 15th. So they swapped some things in and swapped some things out. So everybody remember that. That's one thing. And so, you know, because things are changing so much, they're finding that maybe this is better. Let's bring this into the offering instead of that. And then also we all have to remember that GROW and Rise now are two different things. So it's not just mid-market GROW and, you know, or large enterprise Rise. So mid-market can go Rise and large enterprise can do GROW. So, you know, don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to changes, of course, this being a very dynamic area and also the fact that we constantly try to incorporate customers' inputs and feedback. So these kinds of changes, swapping in, swapping out, they happen very frequently.
DataSphere that they put in, right?
Yeah, so DataSphere is one of those things, but also some of the AI capabilities, the entitlements. So that also got included. And these are some of the bigger changes that you would notice depending on which of the Rise offerings. So we have 3 different offerings currently, which is the base package, the premium, and the premium plus. So
so base, premium, and premium plus, and all 3 of these are, you get like, so base would be like the simple version, I guess you'd say.
Yeah,
it's like a car.
Yeah, so it's just
more
like
extras.
Yeah, and when it comes to subscription, I always, even though I'm not a very avid Netflix, I would say fan or viewer, but I always like to compare subscriptions to something like Netflix because almost everyone has that subscription. So it's just like, think of it in that manner. So you will have depending on what you subscribe to, you get more and more stuff. So with the base, but there are a few things that will always be available to you. Just in Netflix, for example, there's I don't know, some shows and movies that you're always, regardless of how much you pay, that you can watch. Similarly, with each of these packages, you will always get the S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition.
Yes, that is core ERP. Everybody has to remember that. So no matter what, it's S4.
Exactly. So when our customers often ask us, so which package should I go for? We're like, listen, these will all depend on what your specific needs are. But rest assured, regardless of which one you go with, you're definitely going to get the S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition version with that. And then the other packages add on to the base package. So it's base plus X will be premium, base plus XX would be premium plus. And in base, I do have to mention another big component that you do get is what we call the OCFO packages. So basically quite a few finance capabilities that are already priced into your subscription. And that
so that's Office of the CFO.
Sorry, I shouldn't talk in
He's
acronyming
us, y'all.
Office of the Chief Financial Officer, or finance capabilities. So you have the group reporting and group reporting data collection, and you also get some amount of the AI and Joule capabilities. That's one of the, I would say, changes, positive changes that were made most recently.
That's like cash management, receivables management.
No, and the AI Joule stuff. That part of it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, and what about the procurement network for the supplier portal?
Yeah. So for that, you have to go up one level, and you get that starting with your premium. Right. With premium, you get the supplier portal. And for additional needs, obviously, you'll have to buy, or you have to subscribe to additional licenses. So that's, and the same is the case, with Premium Plus, you get the supplier portal too.
Gotcha. So just remember, guys, that there are 3 different versions of Rise, and they're now calling it Rise with SAP. It's the new term. And so what is, everybody's talking about like Rise or Grow. So what exactly is the difference between Rise and Grow?
Yeah, so I hope folks on this call have heard about Grow, because I speak at a lot of events and conferences, and I do get like a 70 to 80% yes when I ask about it. But I'm not going to assume that people know about Grow that much. But it's essentially, I would say, an offshoot of Rise with SAP. So Rise with SAP has been in the market since early 2021, as I said. And then earlier last year, we came out with kind of carved that Grow piece out of Rise because it was creating some confusion. So Grow, in its most basic fundamental form, has S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition at its core. If there's the biggest difference between these 2 offerings, that's the one you got to understand first. That this one, Rise with SAP, gives you S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, and GROW with SAP is S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition.
Right.
And that is our, yeah,
and private.
Public and private. And that is the true 100% cloud SaaS ERP, because this is with the public edition, there are quite a few different aspects, such as the ability to run most of your business out of the box because of the standard business processes that we bundle, the fact that Fiori is the only.
Yeah, so GROW is out of the box, really can't change it. Change a little bit, but not like crazy change it, where Rise is more larger enterprises that are used to changing and configuring all crazy ways. And, so if you're more of an ECC person that, has over customized your system over the years and is used to all this, and, server in the basement and that kind of thing, I think you need to go with Rise. I think that would be a more comforting thing for you.
Yeah, Kendall has definitely led us in the right direction, because there are a couple of other major differences that I can build on based on what Kendall just said. So typically what happens is, when you have existing, we call it install base. So it could be ECC. Mostly it's ECC, but it could also be S/4HANA on-prem. So now they're looking to move to S/4HANA cloud, right? So they're at that stage, they're debating whether they go with Rise or GROW. But what we see, and based on our numbers also, is that a majority, I would say vast majority of existing ECC customers go with Rise with SAP, because it is kind of the path from ECC to private cloud seems to be one that is more pragmatic for them to take, because it is associated with the brownfield, right? So it's more of we think of it as a migration, or kind of not a fresh install kind of thing. Because a lot of our existing customers, they also want to carry over their historical data, as well as a lot of the customizations. And we'll get to that in a minute, which we encourage them not to, because there are different ways to handle that. But with GROW, the kind of customer base,
startup company,
right,
that kind of, that
mostly,
would be,
more GROW.
If you're a startup and want to
mid-market,
mid-market startup, that kind of thing.
And exactly, and you maybe have no ERP. Most of them actually have no ERP solution, or maybe a patchwork of homegrown applications, or things that don't scale. I really want to dwell on that a little bit. Things that don't scale, because most of our customers, when we have our conversations, the most common thing we hear is that we're a small company, we don't have a lot of resources, but we have big dreams and aspirations. We want to grow, and we need something that'll help us scale, because we want to pivot to new business models. So for those folks, doing a fresh greenfield implementation, or deployment as we call it, of the public cloud seems a more acceptable, palatable option. So that's there are other differences, but let's just stick to those major ones.
So private cloud is what we're talking about today.
Exactly. Yeah.
And private cloud can be, it's not exactly like what we're used to. So like you were talking about like S4 on-prem and S4 HEC, they probably will be more used to this compared to an ECC on-prem customer. Is that correct?
Very correct. Yep. 100%.
What if you're a hosted ECC customer? That's
very good question. If you're hosted, so that brings us to like, I would say the debate that we often have as to essentially what are the differences between ECC and not just Rise, because Rise is the overall commercial offering, but S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, because that is the primary motivation that leads people, or we want our customers to drive that move. So there are actually lots of advantages, differences, right, and benefits. And I would put them into 5 buckets. There's just a lot if we go tactically, but let's go strategically, right? Those 5 buckets that I would put them are business process and functionality. A lot of customers think of this as a lift and shift, and they feel like there's not much difference in terms of capabilities between ECC and S/4HANA Cloud, which actually is not true. There's a whole lot of them, right? So that's number
Yeah.
one. Number
Let's
two,
get value out of it too. That's
exactly,
my,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Mm,
I'm all about if you're going to do it, get something out of it.
right. So number two is real-time analytics, which I'm sure ECC customers would definitely have felt the pain. I've been an ECC customer myself, so I know very well how much or what a pain it has been to drive any kind of real-time, forget analytics, any real-time behavior because of the way the database is organized, all that kind of stuff. The third one is one of the hottest areas, which is intelligent technologies, which are being rapidly embedded into all our cloud solutions, obviously including private cloud. And then number 4 is something that has been around for a long time, but has been, I would say, tragically underused, which is SAP Fiori. Now,
Oh,
SAP,
yes. People
that
aren't
is the
using that. I know. If it's like,
so that is the user experience, which has been significantly revamped. I know that early adopters of SAP Fiori did not have the most pleasant experience, but believe me, it has been tremendously improved. Performance issues have
especially
been
with
handled,
AI.
especially, yeah, you
Oh
get a
gosh.
lot of AI capabilities, machine learning, all that kind of good stuff that is only happening, not with SAP GUI, but in SAP Fiori. And then I would say the final thing is that now you have access to the business technology platform, right? Which is the technology heart and soul of an intelligent organization. And that leads to very, very easy integrations, out of the box integrations,
And
which
that's BTP, by the way.
business technology
Yeah,
platform. Yeah,
BTP is what we always hear. So if
right.
they talk BTP, and that's pretty much like, isn't it kind of like the, I don't know, it's almost like a connector that's like a big connector that can bring other applications into SAP.
Okay, so it is the technology foundation. So you may have seen, or we love hamburgers, it feels like, because most of our major diagrams seem to be shaped in the form of a hamburger. When you see that hamburger, you'll see all our ERP capabilities and other applications, but you will see that in the middle or in the foundation, you have the business technology platform, which is the layer where you do all your application development, integrations, extensions, data management, and all automation and AI, right? So it not only supports all these things, but it is also the platform where you can build and extend your existing capabilities. And talking about integration, though, why is this so powerful is because I've not come across a single company that hasn't told me that, oh, we have a whole ton of applications, third-party applications, and
Custom built
custom-built
application.
apps.
Only for me. That's my, the company won't run unless I have this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so it has been a nightmare. Our overall application landscape is a nightmare with point-to-point integrations, all those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
with BTP, what we're enabling customers to do is take a fresh look at these existing point-to-point integration and instead utilize, number one, a lot of the standard APIs, whitelisted APIs, and services and connectors that are already bundled within BTP, and also use the BTP layer for all your, like as the hub for all the integration. So now you just have to deal with one application as your central application that handles not only the connections, but also helps you maintain and monitor them.
And that comes with Rise?
It comes with, it integrates, that's a good question. You get some entitlements, but it's a subscription like everything else. You can definitely subscribe to additional entitlements or licenses.
Yeah, I don't think that's that. I think they were giving it away at one point, weren't they? Everybody to use it. I thought I was like, everybody just sign up for free. I heard that one time, and I was like, what?
But I think something about BTP I'd like to mention also is that a lot of our cloud applications actually are services, nothing but services running on BTP.
Yeah.
So if you think about some popular applications like Cloud ALM or SAP Analytics Cloud or DataSphere, since they're all applications running on BTP. So you're already using BTP. If you are using those or you plan on using those applications, you're a BTP customer actually already.
Yep, and you can integrate in all your success factors and
absolutely,
you know, CRX and CRM and even on-prem CRM, right?
Yeah, so you can use that virtually. There's no when we deal with applications sometimes that we have never heard of before, and that happens quite often. And if we don't find it there's a discovery center, so that's where everyone's encouraged to take a look to see what's available. But if it's not, again, there is no limitation that way. You can definitely create that service, if you will, right? That connection using a variety of different open techniques that BTP supports.
Interesting. Yeah. So what do you think is once everybody jumps on to Rise, then what happens? What's going to be the next thing? What do you think it's going to turn into? I mean, like future development of, you know, where are they leaning towards? AI and.
So this is a journey. This is, it's a continuum. So it's not like your journey is going to end one fine day. Just like those of you that have been running ECC, your journeys are never, it's a never ending journey. So a couple of things that are clearly trends that we're seeing globally. And this is I would say, this is not like insight you haven't heard before, but definitely intelligence and business process optimization. Because if you look at where we are heavily focused on, so obviously you've heard about our investments into AI. And by the way, we've invested billions literally into making sure that our customers get the benefits of all the AI work that we're doing, number one. And also business process optimization. If you look at some of our newer acquisitions, Signavio and LeanIX, right? Signavio.
Okay, you know, I'm like the Signavio queen. Love it. I think that is the way to go, to be honest with you. I think everybody needs to jump on Signavio, get the value out of going to Rise from ECC. That's what I think everybody needs to do. Figure out what you got, get rid of it, what you don't need.
And even with Signavio, even though you should use pieces of components of Signavio before you start your journey. Like, for example, Process Insights Discovery Edition, which will help you with your assessment of your current state of business processes so that you can understand what your journey is going to look like. However, you should, as Kendall was saying, that should be something that you use continuously. It is an awesome tool. But believe me, even I was a little skeptical before I saw it. And then
I was like, no way, it doesn't work. That's impossible.
Right. It's an incredible application, so visual, right? and so KPI driven. It's not like you're just going to get some very general recommendations. Oh, you could do a better job of this, but it will tell you where, right? It will even show you that here's where you deviated from kind of standard based on the industry you're in. And then it can tell you if you actually do this, you could increase the efficiency of this process by 20%, for example. How wonderful is that?
Now, I think that people should, when we're talking about we're talking about Rise, I think that all of the users out there don't need to be thinking about where the application is sitting. You know, I think that's something that somebody purchasing or somebody that's, you know, that should be kind of their decision. We all need to be thinking about S4. We need to be thinking about, how do we get some value out of this transformation? How do we, do things we want to do that we haven't been able to do? AI and all these really cool things. Even down to WalkMe, that's pretty slick. They just bought that too.
Right.
So want to know who's doing it? WalkMe will tell you. And being able to, get all these applications and get them to, integrate. And I think that's what everybody needs to be thinking about, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the hosting part, the hyperscaler part, the maintenance, the upgrades, those concerns, or the burden, if you will, because those have become burdens. Those are things which SAP has said we will handle for you so that you can focus on strategic activities that directly contribute to your top line, bottom line, and also green line these days.
Okay, one really quick question. Hyperscalers. Well, how does a hyperscaler and Rise go together? Or
yeah, obviously, if you are not very familiar with the overall structure of Rise, just kind of a quick recap. It's a comprehensive package, right, that takes care of the entire cloud, I would say, or your transformation to the cloud, which means it has the infrastructure as a service, IaaS, which is the hyperscaler part. Then we have the platform as a service, which is the BTP part I was talking about. And then the software as a service, which is S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition, and all the other applications that you can integrate or comes with it, like SuccessFactors, Concur, Ariba Business Networks, all those kinds of things. Now, talking about hyperscalers, with Rise with SAP, we offer customers the option of having their application hosted on our hyperscaler partners, which in North America happen to be the obvious ones, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and then AWS. So what that means is that you as a customer, essentially you're signing just one contract. So you don't have to worry about the hyperscaler relationship. You will get a single blended SLA, and SAP is the one who will be held responsible, contractually responsible for all aspects of infrastructure.
That's nice. So you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So which is cool. Wow. So one question has, so I'm opening it up, everybody. So bring on the questions. Let's see what we can do and how we can like trick him on something. Let's try to get. I love to do that. I'm going to one up and see if I can figure, catch you up on something. But ask some questions. What do you want to know about Rise? Okay, so here we go. First one up. Where can you find out what is included based on the type of Rise subscriptions? So like, DataSphere is included and so forth. Where is there somewhere you can go and you can actually see all that?
There are quite a few public decks, and I can send this out after this because I don't want to do this in real time. Yeah, we have quite a few external facing decks that provide that information.
Yeah,
happy to share that.
I was going to say I have one too. I'm here looking at.
Okay, yeah.
So if you gotta go, you have to know the right person to get that information.
Yeah. So honestly, when it comes to some of this basic stuff, it is easier to find. Sometimes it's those nitty-gritties that are harder to find, but
yeah,
I would say this should be available publicly.
I know.
Yeah.
It should be available publicly. I think because it's so new, July 15th.
Exactly. I was going to say,
why. Yeah.
That's the caveat. You just have to be careful at which version you're looking at, because if the date's not provided or visible, you don't want to be stuck with an older version and think that, oh,
and think that's what you're going to buy.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, sorry, you don't get that.
Right.
So make sure you look and make sure it is July 15th.
That's the latest.
Newer. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So don't look at anything older than that, because that's not what you're going to get.
Right.
I've had a lot of customers who've been talking to SAP about Rise and for years. And then when it comes to buying it, they're like, oh, change that's not what you got.
Can I also add something that came to my mind? Very, very relevant, which I somehow couldn't really include in my answers before, is the fact that the subscription, I hope everyone here gets a better understanding of what we mean by subscription, because that truly is a game changer, because you're used to long-term contracts. And also you pay for things that you do not use, right? I would say a good
shelfware,
percentage.
Believe me.
Yeah, shelfware, that has been a perennial problem. With Rise and Grow both, what SAP has done has simplified this model and be more strategic and scientific about it. So we have something called the full user equivalent, or FUE. It sounds the way I was about to say FUE, but actually it's this. There's a formula. It's pretty straightforward that we have that helps. So it really works the benefit of the customer. So not every user has the same, consumes the same kind of license. So there are 4 categories, right? There's the end user, which is typically, as you can imagine, these are people who consume, just approve things, ad hoc queries maybe. Then we have
information.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we have core, then we have advanced, and then we have developer access. Now, the way this has been categorized is based on the load, the stress that each category puts on the system resources. So based on that formula, just to give an example, so for every 30 end users, self-service users as we call them, you just pay for one FUE, one license. And if it is core, it is 5:1, right? For every 5. So what I'm trying to point out here is that this actually is a far more economical model, because when we work with our customers, whether it's Rise customers, Grow customers, that's a big concern. Oh my God, license costs are going to be just crazy. Well, no. And when you do the math, I've never seen a situation where the total number, effective number of licenses you buy is, it just cannot be more than the number of users you have in your system.
So let me ask you this. So now, if I'm a guy in the warehouse, right? And I just enter, like, I check the stock or whatever, and I need to enter that information into SAP. Before, I would have to like log in to the whatever, my company's system, and then be able to do it. But now that it's, completely like web-based, that you don't have to do any of that. You can just, right?
Oh, well, so let me clarify. Because you're going to be on private cloud edition. So it is not like SAP GUI is kind of, you're locked out of SAP GUI. I wish I didn't say that, but it is true that it is still available for you as an option. However, we highly encourage our customers to interact, do all their transactions via Fiori. So now, assuming that you're using Fiori, the process is not going to be any different. You'll use your user ID and password, but when you use Fiori as your user experience, user interaction UI, then you're going to see, instead of having this menu and like all these different items and all that kind of stuff, a lot of you probably have seen it.
You can use that on your cell phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Fiori, the guy in the warehouse now just pulls a cell phone up and goes click.
So he will still have to log in, but what he or she's going to see is a whole bunch of apps based on the person's roles and responsibilities in the system. But now the beauty is that because Fiori was designed to be device agnostic, platform agnostic. You are now able to, as Kendall was saying, you could be flying actually and subscribing to in-flight Wi-Fi, which I often do, and you could be approving someone's vacation request or responding to some emergency in real time, because you will be able to, unlike, think about ECC. I'm not saying it's impossible, but just imagine trying to do all of that using some kind of web interface in real time. Very hard, if not impossible.
So another question is, with Rise, are you able to use the items that are on the comparability pack, or are those restricted for use? I don't know.
Oh, there's that's a really good compatibility pack. That's an excellent question. Actually, there is a whole, that is a very, very, what should I say, take a lot of time to kind of answer the whole thing, and some others may not be that interested, but there is a whole kind of process behind that, the compatibility packs. And for the person who's asking that question, if you can just take note, I'd be happy to provide more details after this, because there's a lot of, with notes and this and that, so I don't want to get into that right now.
Okay.
Yes, the short answer is yes, but there is a but too.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get something.
Yeah.
We'll get something to you. Okay. So is GROW more for new customers and Rise for existing customers?
Yes, that is typically. So I'll say typical, but if you go back to what Kendall had said early on, it's not like cut and dried. We see a lot of existing SAP customers also, and we do have some that are looking into GROW. And why is that so? Because there are these customers, large customers such as yourselves, have a lot of different subsidiaries, and also you're acquiring new companies. So imagine these subsidiaries are typically, that's what we find, they're running on all kinds of custom applications. They don't have a real ERP, and they want to get on this platform so that they can continue their path, on their path. And so they don't want to keep waiting for headquarters to do this transformation in a big way. So they can easily go with GROW, and then because with GROW, it takes a much less time and all those kinds of things. They can roll it out across different countries, and you can continue in parallel different subsidiaries. And there's many other use cases, but this is a typical one. However,
we have a lot of people asking questions, like a lot.
Sure. Okay.
So we're going to go through these really quick so that everybody can get their answers, and then if more information, we can do something where we can get him to write up a little bit more info on your questions, and we'll post them in post them on the SAP Press site under our call. Okay, so here we go. All right, so if we're currently using on-prem ECC on HANA with heavy Z customizations, are we able to move all those customizations as is to Rise?
So basically, you are what we call a Suite on HANA SOH customer, of which we have quite a few. The answer is you can, but the real question is, should you?
Yeah.
And and that's where we come in, and we try to determine with a lot of tools. It's not like us just saying, get rid of your customizations and just go with standard, right? There's a whole lot of services and tools that we provide.
Drag them over, figure it out afterwards. That's what I would do if you think you have to have them.
Well, that would be plan B, but plan A is, if you want to do it the right way, determine what are the things are essential.
Yes.
And things that can be kind of jettisoned, don't move them. And also look at standard capabilities that are provided in private cloud as part of the core.
I suggest put Signavio in, run it, see
100%.
what you need.
That was one of the tools. Yeah.
Using plug and gain, do that, and then figure that out, because discovery report. Okay, here we go. So can you contrast S4 private versus public?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that could take a while. Kendall, tell me, how many minutes do I get for that?
You don't get many minutes.
Many. 30 seconds? Yeah.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Go.
Put me on the spot there. Okay, public cloud, number one. Let's start with hosting. So 100% hosted by SAP in SAP data centers or located with other IS vendors. So, and you don't have a choice. You cannot influence any of that, number one. Number two, essentially it is out of the box because it's a collection of standard best practices, quite comprehensive, but you will
industry specific.
So we encourage, or we actually insist that customers take a fit to standard approach, go with what they have. Number three is the innovations. That's very important. AI. Keep in mind that all the AI capabilities that you hear about, they first show up in the public cloud, and the others lag behind a little bit. So public cloud is where they get most of these innovations. And I'll stop. Oh, fourth one, very important. SAP GUI. There's no concept of SAP GUI in the public cloud. Fiori is the only user experience, so it doesn't even know about SAP GUI. So
okay, remember that. Okay, so who's responsible for system maintenance, like upgrades, updates, applying SAP notes, including security notes, etc. with Rise? If you're a basis guy, this is what he's asking.
Right. So let me ask you this: are you what kind of customer are you? Like the person who's asked this? Oh, maybe.
Well, here we go. Here's another one behind it. Can we assume the responsibility of traditional basis-related activities would move away from customer to SAP with Rise?
Yeah. So there's the technical managed services piece is handled by SAP, and then if there's something called, you probably heard about cloud application server, CAS packages. So that's the AMS piece. So if you have not engaged an SI to do your AMS, and you decide to come to SAP, you'll get something called Cloud Application Services. So these are all the additional value-added activities, right, on the infrastructure side.
But you still have to do security.
Again, if it is CAS, then depending on what you mean by security, if you're talking about roles and authorizations, absolutely. But if you're talking about security in the data sense and all those things, no.
We're talking about like, I'm a basis
100%.
guy. What is my role going to be?
Sure.
Basis guys are still needed, by the way.
Well, absolutely.
So don't think you're going away. This is just a little different what you're doing.
Right.
Okay. In the EU, there is a requirement of hosting only in one EU country. I've heard this, by the way. So does the current version of Rise guarantee this?
In only one EU country? Is that the question? Because I'm actually
if there is an EU country that's required of hosting only one EU country, does the current version of Rise guarantee this? I think it does.
Yeah, I need to I need to make sure I understood the question correct. And this is related, I'm guessing, GDPR and all that kind of stuff, data residency rules. I need to confirm. I'm not going to say an unqualified yes. I believe it's a yes, but we need to. And I'm just trying to understand, is this a scenario where the company itself operates in one country, or it operates in multiple countries?
It probably operates.
It's probably a GDPR kind of question.
Country. Yeah.
So one of the things, just so you know, it goes back to hyperscaler, choice of hyperscaler. So what SAP tries to do with Rise with SAP customers is take into account two things. First is data I would say latency. So it's not going to put you in a data center which is 10,000 miles away from your set of operations. Secondly is the data residency requirements. It could be that the country happens to be the same country that you're talking about, right?
That's what I think it is. Yeah. He's talking about, Okay, so if a company purchases Rise subscription, does this include BTP access? We were talking about this earlier. No.
Yeah. So you'll get some entitled, and it keeps changing. So for example, with GROW, we have BTP entitlements. With Rise, it's not typically BTP entitlements. What you're going to get is some amount of AI. So you will have to actually purchase or subscribe to additional, it's called BTP-EA Enterprise Agreements is the name. Or there are other ways you can do this. There's a pay-as-you-go format or option also.
What is Embedded Launch Advisor?
Oh yeah, sure. Embedded Launch Advisor is a service which we provide now with the Rise Migration and Modernization Program, right? I'm sure folks here have heard about it, but this is a newer program that we started, I would say Q2 this year. And so this includes, I would say in short, additional services by SAP, right? So like help you kind of get started with cloud ALM, right? So, and the word embedded is important. It is part of, you don't have to pay extra. So there's going to be more like SAP involvement, let's put it that way. And that'll help you kind of accelerate your Rise journey.
They're not just going to sell you something and say, have fun. They're going to help you get it in and help you make sure it gets in correctly.
Right.
So, and that's also included in the base, the premium, and the premium plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So using Rise, can the customer work with client to make configuration on a TX, OA, CO, or data archive? Are there restrictions for client 00?
The restrictions for, yeah, that's a very, I'm not a basis person, so I will have to follow up on that.
We'll follow up on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an on-prem Rise deployment option for customers concerned about data residency sovereignty?
The answer is no. The whole idea behind Rise with SAP is the cloud. It's a cloud transformation at the end of the day. So we believe that customers would benefit by moving to the cloud because of all these different capabilities.
You can't put Rise on your server in the basement. Think of it that's my thing. It's like everybody wants to, it's not that. This is not what we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is, again, not like an oversight or accident. This is on purpose because the entire world, the trend is that everyone's going to the cloud. No one's really selling. Think about it. SAP is probably the only vendor that's still heavily in the on-prem business, right? So it's not something that we're doing, something unusual that we're doing. We're just basically doing what the rest of the world is doing here.
Yeah. Okay, here's one. I have no idea what this is, which someone's got me, so let's see if it can get you. Because I'm like, oh, how often do FUE true up, i.e. 30D, 90D, based on actual use?
Yeah, so this is a really good question. Actually, so I can explain what I think the person. So FUE was the acronym I used earlier, which is full user equivalent.
Oh, that's right.
And,
okay.
And the true up can be done based on what your usage patterns are, right? So firstly, that can be monitored. So it's not like you will not be notified by SAP that you are close to or you have exceeded your limit or something like that. And so now it's, if you have any reason to believe that it has suddenly exploded and you want to true up so that you don't want to be sort of in the bad books and get hit with something, which, by the way, doesn't normally happen because it's not like we go to.
Would a basis guy be in charge of that?
Well, so here's the thing. That's why we have all the, I would say, infrastructure management pieces that we handle. And then we have cloud ALM, all these different solutions. And then people, I think, are familiar, hopefully, with SAP for Me. So SAP for Me, that the reason I bring this up now is that is your gateway to all the information about your subscription. So you will be able to see everything in SAP for Me. So based on all of that, what I'm trying to say is that you can decide, you can say that, look, we can do 30-day, 60-day, 90-day. We don't typically see customers doing 30-day true ups, but if you just want to be very diligent about it, then you can definitely do that.
Okay. So for Rise, using SAP ECC, can the customer go on using the SAP GUI, or do they have to use Fiori?
There is the option of using either. And there's lots of customers that I've personally seen, they're still using SAP GUI because they have invested heavily into SAP GUI. And then there's, of course, this resistance to change, which is natural.
Oh,
but
yeah.
recommendation is that you should use SAP Fiori for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, not the least of which is you get all the AI innovations on the front end embedded with Fiori, not with SAP GUI transactions.
Here's the next question. Are any secondary supporting applications such as IAG, GRC, MDG, or others included in the base Rise package?
No.
Or is it more of a menu of options?
It is a la carte when it comes to those applications. And I can also give you the reason why, because whether it's Rise or GROW, we have focused on the core. And modularity, so that customers don't have to pay for solutions that they're not likely to use. This is a classic example. So let's say if this had been part of base, whatever tier, then a lot of customers might have said, I have no use for this. Why am I paying for this?
This is like shelfware. Why are we using this?
So let's have those,
trade it in for something else.
Let's have those customers that truly need this subscribe to those things.
Exactly. Okay, is there such a thing as Rise with SAP Public Cloud, or that it is called GROW with SAP?
That's an excellent question. If you look at some of our existing documentation,
I was going to say, wasn't it before?
Exactly, there was Rise. That's something that caused when I used to speak at even last confusion. 2 years ago. It was somewhat confusing because you could still do public cloud with Rise, and therefore some old documentation might still say the same thing. Again, it's a matter of the
July 15th. July 15th.
But GROW with SAP was introduced in Q1 of last year. So since then, the paths have been made clearer. So it's like a fork in the road. So today, if you're a new customer that is looking into these two options, you have the choice of going with Rise if you want to go with private cloud, or GROW if you want to go with public cloud.
So it was something of the past.
It was together, both
in
things
the
were
future,
together.
And currently, this is the way it goes.
This is the way, and who knows about the future?
We don't know. It changes all the time. Okay, can you move from GROW to Rise? How complex is it?
GROW to... We strongly encourage customers not to go that route because, number one, there is no path, if you will. Number two, it's not like you can move or you can repurpose your GROW subscriptions to Rise. So there are two major, and why do we say that? So we, collectively, working with our partners, we put in a lot of effort upfront to make sure that the customer is choosing the right option, Rise with private cloud or GROW with public cloud.
I wonder if I think they're talking about if they put GROW onto one country that, I don't know, and then they want to bring them into.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought it was I started with GROW. Now I want to replace it with.
Once you are S4, you are S4, guys. Remember that.
No, I do need to expand on that. That's a very important question. And if that's what the person meant, then 100%. You can start. That's what we in fact recommend, that for some of your smaller units or subsidiaries, start with public cloud. And then if you're ready, if and when you're ready with your central ERP instance and you decide to go with private cloud, it's really easy to integrate to the,
like S4 on-prem, HEC, all those HEC customers. Those projects are much simpler because they already are on S4.
Exactly.
We all have to remember it's S4. Behind the covers, it's S4. Okay, so we have a lot more, but we're going to have to save them for our blog post. And I want to let everybody know you can get 15% off on this eBite and by using Book Club 15. So make sure you guys all go onto SAP Press website and get one. I think it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of really good information that is not, we were talking about this earlier. There are so many decks out there, and the decks are sales pitch decks, and it doesn't give you all the information. It just highlights it and goes over it, and then everybody has a different like pitch of how they're going to pitch this to a customer. But with his eBite, he actually goes through the information and tells you what really is going on. So I want to thank you so much for doing this for everybody, and letting everybody know what is Rise with SAP. So well, thank you.
It has been a pleasure, Kendall, and I thank you all for attending. And these questions were excellent. I really, really enjoyed, thought-provoking, excellent. And for those that I was not able to answer, I will definitely get back one way or the other.
That's right. And you can visit our blog at blog.sap-press.com. So that's where they'll be. And thank you again, and we will see you next time. So
thank you, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody.